February 27th, 6:08 p.m. Clerk, please call the roll.
Fontaine.
Here.
Griffith.
Here.
Peters.
Here.
Waring.
Here.
Soretta.
Here.
And Foltz.
Here.
6 present, Mr. President.
Thank you. Motion to excuse Member Kiesling. So moved.
Second.
Griffith.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Soretta.
Yes.
Foltz.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
6 yes to excuse Councilwoman Kiesling.
All right. First up and last up, Finance and Property, Chairman Griffith.
We have an item on the agenda which is associated with personnel. I will turn the request over to the mayor.
Yes, okay. Okay, we're talking about the, for the new position.
Yeah,
correct?
admin assist. Yes.
All right, you caught me off guard there.
I think so. I
I
hope.
don't really speak that often, so really what we want to do is that, as I've stated a number of times, you know, the city back in 2005, we had 116 full-time employees. I just wanted to bring that up from Stephanie's benefit. And now we're down to, I think, 92. Yes. And so at this point, and actually Patrick DiOrio, who serves as our Director of Administrative Services, when he first started, our Administrator Mike Grimes had him do a review of all the departments, just because he would have a renewed and fresh perspective while looking at the administrative offices in the city. And there's a number of things, as you all know, that he's come up with, you know, to take a look at. Understaffed. And, you know, one of the things that I found is it's very, very difficult when you have to reduce the number of jobs in the city because, number one, you have to find a way to do that through retirements, hopefully, and that's really how we did it in North Canton. We just didn't replace the positions. But at the same time, it's really tough to get the work done. And so our goal has always been in the city is every decision that we make, it either brings jobs or it's going to allow us to be more cost efficient and effective. We've been very, very cost efficient in this city over the past 12 years. We're getting to the point where our effectiveness is starting to be challenged, and it's simply because we don't have enough employees to staff some of the key positions. And we notice that the most when we have people that have been here for 30 years and they leave. For example, our police chief, he's retiring on Friday. That's over 30 years of experience that are leaving. Our city engineer, Jim Benikas, recently retired. That's 30 plus years of experience in government. And so as we're bringing new people on, Eric Bowles had retired recently, and he's another person that had his 30 years in. So what we're finding is when those individuals leave, there can be a gap. So what we'd like to do, and this is what our finance director is working with us on, and also our administrator and Patrick DiOrio, is upgrading our IT. But once we upgrade the IT, we have to have the employees to gather that information, gather that data. In some cases, like in the administrative office right now, we have 1.5 employees. So we have Jane that's working part-time, Justine that's full-time, and historically in the city, we've always had 2 people in that office. So we can assure you that anybody that we add to the city will be capable and willing to serve the people of North Canton. And so what we would ask is for the supplemental appropriation of funds for this cause to the general fund, and so that we can hire, you know, we're going to post the position as we talked about, we will post it. And then we also have administrative testing that we've provided, which would be their proficiency in Microsoft Office, which would be Word, Excel, PowerPoint, grammar, things like that. And we'll probably have like maybe 2 or 3 tests, and that'll be determined with the administrator and Patrick DiOrio. And so we want to get posted, and we'll do the interviews, and then we'll do the testing, and then we'll appoint a person as quickly as we can.
Pat, you want to talk about maybe some of the projects, the specific projects that you have in mind for this person?
Well, let me put it in this context, as the mayor alluded to, in assessing the needs. One of the difficulties we have is that when you have a window operation, and I'd be familiar with that from my previous position, you don't know when people are going to come up to it, and you don't know how often, but I can tell you from being here 6 weeks, it's a lot. A lot of people come to pay their tickets that are administered to by the police department. And what it does is it takes away from that ability to focus in on, say, getting something done. Phone rings, something happens. Somebody else needs something, there's administrative requests coming from wherever. And if we don't have a second person there that backs that up, then the operations tend to fall down then. So what we don't want to have is a situation where a resident comes to the city to take care of a matter. We're still and see where that goes, but if that, as that would move.
More police.
From the police department to administer the bottom 3 sections where you, so we need movement of money.
Same dollar.
Increase of the hire another.
It's not being used.
Right, well, for the police money, like I said, the chief is retiring at the end of the week, and so as you have all that movement, you know, you have to promote someone to chief, then you have to backfill lieutenant, backfill sergeant, and then finally backfill patrol officers. Right now, we had budgeted 17 patrol officers. We currently only have 16. So already we've had 2 months with that open position. So there's been some savings there. And then as all these positions turn over, you'll have those little bits of savings in those few weeks where you're not at full staff. So by the end of the year, we believe that it'll work out to still have, you know, enough of a balance in the police department. Because as you backfill, they're at a lower, well, with police, someone for the price that you're paying. So that's where we've added the additional dollars and added some additional dollars for the contract service that we're on right now.
Especially since Jim had retired and we hired, he will be paying higher, and then
Certification as you do for, it's rare, and Patrick.
No, the other thing is it's required properties, and they're trying to force him to put a new roof on, do all this, where he doesn't have the wherewithal to do it because it's in the bank's hands. So they're just protecting it and cleaning it up, but they can't rebuild the house. It's going to fall in the hands of the potential buyer. And so we just need to know what the simple guidelines are so that it's consistent across the board. So if it sits empty for a year, like I even need to know that. So I'm just trying to understand where to get that. And I know we're refining some of that stuff now.
And that's going to be when, as we're doing this IT audit, you know, we've uncovered so many areas where our IT is deficient. And it's not an excuse, but it's not uncommon where you see governmental, municipalities, villages, townships, where they're typically lacking as far as the information technology as compared to the private sector. And that's where we are striving to bring all of our IT up to a state-of-the-art level. And that includes loading information and retrieving information. So one example, down at the permits department, Patrick, you were doing a review down there, and how many files, hard files, did they have down there?
Well,
Like 4,300?
To put it in perspective, what Director Fry was trying to do is get as much of the paper that he could into an electronic format, because it's easier to find it, in theory, on an electronic format as compared to where it might be stored physically. But we don't have this. We don't really have the best software for a department to utilize that. So in the interim, we're doing a makeshift arrangement where we're just storing files by a street address, and anything that we find in relations to that street address, we just put it in that file. And it's not the ideal, because then when you want something on that address, you go to that file and there's a dozen sub-files and you don't know which one you're looking for. You have to open them all back up again to find what you're looking for. And there's software out there that's available for that, to really run that department, that would make a lot of these problems, go away. But without it, that's an issue. So that's something that Gary and I were working on, trying to get that incorporated into our existing structure.
I think, and obviously all helpful comments kind of stray a little bit, because I think the permits thing ties a little bit into it, but ultimately it's a service issue. In this case, we're trying to make the first step, which is dealing with the service issues that we hope will improve on the administrative side. And obviously we have a small administrative change that needs to happen from a budgetary standpoint here too. But I think we're all in support of, a performance audit for the permits folks so that we can kind of go from there. Obviously, we're in a transition phase in the city where, there was only so much we could do because of the budgetary limitations. Our situation has improved, which doesn't mean we can spend money willy-nilly, and I don't think there's anybody at the dais who's interested in doing that. So now we get to have a good conversation, which is, well, what's the ideal? What's the best case scenario? And I think that's what the discussion is here. So yeah, I think in this kind of situation, it's helpful to put it in. There's not much of a net effect for the budget for the rest of this fiscal year. We can have a good debate about whether or not it's worked as we do the budget again at the end of this year. And that's kind of my personal position. And are there other thoughts or opinions about it relative to?
No, it just needs fixed.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Just needs fixed.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so to clarify, this is a special committee. This will not be on tonight's agenda for a vote. We'll leave it open so that people will have an opportunity to share thoughts or opinions about it at a subsequent meeting, and then we'll kind of move from there.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
Okay.
all right.
All right. That concludes that special meeting. Entertain a motion to adjourn this one.
So moved. Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. We are adjourned out of this one. And now we will start our public meeting. United States Postal Service. David Wolf is here. He's got a presentation for us. Mr. Wolf, welcome. You can kind of angle it there if you want to talk to all of us. That's
Yeah, that'd be great. Face Marion. We have the postmaster outside dealing with a concern that one of your citizens had, and I think I've calmed that situation down a bit. But esteemed members and my colleagues are here, and town people, welcome. We're the United States Postal Service, and we hold these community meetings because we want to let the community know what we're doing with their post office and specific zip code. And basically, we open up for 30 days worth of comments. In other words, today we saw many different sites. In fact, I have so many pictures I can't count. There are different possibilities, and what we want to do is open up the floor to ask questions. You can email me, and after 30 days, what I do is I will present all of the results to the district. We will look at different sites, and the district will decide which site is the most appropriate for the needs of the community. And with all the feedback that we may get, we also present that as well. It's just as important as presenting sites. You can also contact us with concerns, what you might like to see in the post office that we're going to downsize, or basically it's going to become a 1,500 square foot post office as opposed to what it is right now. And we have procured everything we need to make it work. We hope that we've identified your needs for the post office. I know this has been going on for quite some time. I arrived here in July, and this is one of the folders that was put on my desk soon after I arrived. And basically, hold on one second, I'm just reading down a list of things that I absolutely have to tell you. All right, basically, I think I've discussed almost everything that's on this list, just by osmosis. And, I'd like to invite you to ask questions, because nothing is irrelevant, and my goal is to have a meeting with the district, have them choose what they think is going to work best for you, and then hire the builders and they can get this done. I hope that that covers everything, so if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And if I don't know an answer, I will get one for you. And I have business cards. And you can always call me if you have any other concerns after the post office is open as well. Yes, ma'am.
If I get a certified letter and I'm not home, and they put a little notice in my mailbox, and then I go to the post office and I'm told that I have to go to Cleveland Avenue. Why?
You have to go to,
Yeah, to the Cleveland Avenue post office.
Well-
With a community this large, and I think taking part of Clayton Township, even part of Jackson,
some post offices are actually hubs, and that's where the carriers, for sometimes different zip codes, will come out. That's why a post office may be referred to as a branch. The system is actually quite intricate, and if you go to a postal plant, it's where all the mail is sorted. And then from that plant, it goes to various post offices. And those various post offices that are more of a hub deliver to their respective branches that they're responsible for. And likewise, when you do the reverse, the mail flows the other way. Now, as for your question, I will have to find out why the certified letter is not at the post office that, you would have, but you have to go to the Canton post office. I can get an answer for you. There may be a technical reason why. There may be a legal reason why, but I'll get the answer. And what I'd like you to do you have an email that you use? I'm going to give you my card, and I'd like you to address that question directly to me at my email address. I will pass it on to the relevant party and get an answer. I will return email it to you. I promise. Sir.
You have spoke of a lot of people with interest property available to you. Is there any kind of a preferred list that you have that would kind of eliminate some of them? That,
Something, we have a preferred list or not. We hire brokers sometimes in communities to go out and look preliminarily for us at different sites. We come out and we do an informal site review just so we understand everything. Then what we do is we have this community contact meeting, and I will tell you we found a lot of good options today. I really am very happy with the options that we found. And then the 30-day waiting period is really there so that the community has an opportunity to express their concerns. If you have a piece of property, if you have a facility, submit it to us, and I will submit it to the district. Actually, what I'll do is I'll have my brokers go out and take a look at it and see if it fits within the scope of this particular post office, the needs of this particular post office.
I have done this already, and I was to be contacted. I haven't been contacted.
What's your name, sir?
Becker?
We spoke on the phone once,
We did. Yes, sir.
and you had a piece of property you told me
I
to.
do. And you talked to a broker?
I did. In fact, we were with the broker today, and Mark can also attest to it, that he told us that he called many times and he couldn't get in touch with you. I can give you his telephone number and you can call him and you can go take a look at the site. Unfortunately, we're not entertaining buying properties. We're only leasing built spaces. Because for this particular post office, that's what we require. We need to put it into a retail facility.
Still open?
You're more, look, you send me,
Wait on somebody to contact?
no, what you do is you send me an email with your concerns. I'll also give you the broker's telephone number and you can tell him.
Okay.
Hey, Dave. Dave, just a question.
Yes.
To kind of start in the process, can you do a little background? Obviously, you're going to move from the existing site. Is that what you're saying? Is there a time frame involved with that?
Well, I'd like to say as soon as possible, because I don't like files sitting on my desk.
Okay.
And really what I plan to do is, after the 30-day waiting period, I plan to come back up here probably a week later and spend some time with the district. There are about 5 different voting members, and we'll take them around to the different sites, and then we'll sit down and we will discuss the different sites, the merits, and I'm sure that they will come up with what's best for this community. I think that they're also very sensitive because, you know, postal employees need also a safe environment to work in. So do customers who come here. So if I can answer your question directly as soon as possible.
Okay. And we went from a postal plant to a hub, is that correct? Or your existing facility there?
The existing facility, I believe all the carriers removed.
Okay.
And they're moved to a hub, and I guess that this is going to become a retail operation only.
So you're looking more of a storefront, sell stamps,
Yes.
still have post office boxes?
And we certainly like signage. So if we go into a shopping center, we want to make sure that USPS is seen. If we take a building that stands on its own, I want to make sure that the sign ordinances allow us to have a sign there. You know, we're the United States Postal Service, and without all of you, we you know.
Right. And obviously, you're going to locate in North Canton.
Yes.
And you would probably have some exterior mailboxes that you could drive up to again? Is that part of the planning process?
Are you talking about the one with the snorkel on it?
Yeah, just like when you want to drop off the...
I was shown a picture of the other one that was eaten away by rust, and
Yeah.
we are we sincerely apologize for that. We are going to develop an island in some way, shape, or form to drive up the snorkel.
Okay.
We saw several different sites today. We were debating how we were going to do it, but I think if the landlord really, really wants us in there and we're a good national tenant and pay our rent all the time, that's something that we might be able to figure out. And we would kindly ask the city if he applies for any kind of change in his parking to accommodate that snorkel, that maybe make sure that it gets done, because that's really an important feature of every post office.
And I think if you're looking at some kind of a mall atmosphere, retail shopping plaza atmosphere, I think that'd work out. There'd be plenty of parking for you, along with the other storefronts, and it'd be more visible. I think the biggest thing you should look at too is the light that you can get in and out. I mean, obviously that was a hindrance with our existing one. We love the post office. Being in North Canton has made jobs that the post office could create for our city, and then obviously as a post office, you know, with what I'm trying to say, just to be a presence here. It's important that the post office is still part of North Canton. Obviously,
well, I think,
and you understand that too. So
this community was called New Berlin before it was called North Canton. It's a separate municipality. You have your own council, you have your own mayor, and you should have your own post office. You have your own police department. So we're very aware of that, and we're not going anywhere. We're just changing our paradigm a little bit, maybe cleaning up for the community, and I hope that it works out. I'll do everything I can in my power to make it work out. Working with a very good architect, and as soon as I can, I will get him the file, and we'll send out surveyors and everything, get all the necessary information in order to draw the proper, correct post office and get it built.
Dave, I think, not to say exactly what you said, but I think the people here, what they really care about is access in and out, which is not very good right now. And the next thing is customer service, which is not very good right now. So any of those things would be great for this community. They would love any of those things. And of drive-up things. So those would be the 3 things that this community kind of would look forward to and really get behind that. So those are the 3 things that I think we're going to be
Well, for the 2 centers that I looked at today, there is good ingress and egress. There are different ways you can come in and come out, which is good. I like one more than the other. Everything has its pluses and minuses, and really my job is to present everything I can to the district and let them sit down and decide what's right. Just like all of you vote on an issue, they post office location, and once that's done, I take that and I run with it and I turn it over to architecture and engineering.
Okay.
I have a question. Hi.
Oh, sorry, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm listening, and, you know, the existing post office that we have is what you're talking about, getting away from.
Right.
And you're looking at another location within the city limits of North Canton.
Absolutely.
Because I know the 44720 coastal.
A zip code is a zip code.
Yes, it goes in different areas, so that's what I want to know. It goes with Summit County, you know, Stark County, it goes in different areas.
No, we're staying right here. It's not really gonna move more than a quarter to half a mile. It's just gonna be a better environment for all of you. And there will be parking, and there will be a snorkel, and we will do what we can to accommodate.
And then, is that where you're still going to have post office boxes at the retail? There'll still be post office boxes? Will still be.
Oh yeah, there will be, absolutely. That's already figured into the plan.
Great.
You know, post office boxes are very important to us, and I know they're important to you, and sometimes they run short, they become popular. Ma'am?
Yeah, I just wondered, so if I'm hearing right, the only thing that's really going to change per se is location.
Location
and. As far as we can go in and mail packages like we have there.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. It'll just be an upgrade. It
I
really
just got
will.
concerned because you take retail, which I know they're doing retail, but I just wondered about it.
Well, let's just say that we're going to become more of a storefront, and hopefully with the site I'm thinking about, we'll have really good signage. And, you know, if you all go up and down Main Street, you see something that just catches your eye and you want me to take note of it, please send me an email. You have this beautiful factory across the way, the Hoover plant that's being redone, and, you know, we spoke to Aurora CDRE today, and, you know, it's just not postal friendly. We can't get trucks in and out the way we want. We can't have our own, so it doesn't work. As nice as it is, it doesn't work. So, these are the pluses and minuses that we talk to district about, and at the end of the day, it all gets worked out. At least on my watch, it will. Sure.
I'd like to know, a city the size of North Canton with potential growth, why are we only talking about retail facility? Why don't we have our own post office like we had before?
I think when they moved the carriers out, it was because they could economize to a certain extent, and it also had to do with the landlord. It also had to do with the fact that our lease was running out, and we were, all the signs were there that we needed to move. And, you know, sometimes you do come across smaller post offices. You're my colleague, we work in different parts of this huge aircraft carrier, and, you know, there are all kinds of different functions, but that would be a question I'd probably end up asking you, because I guess you're wanting to know.
We would have stayed there.
Pardon me?
If it was up to me, we would have stayed there at the place we had.
Well, you mean the one that's in North Canton that we're moving from, where all the carriers are?
Over all this time, when we were paying the rent on this facility, we could have been working down there for the last 3 years.
Well, you know, there are things that we end up considering. We have, for example, in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, we have a post office that's overburdened with carriers. We've moved one carrier group over, and we decided not to sell a postal building. In fact, it was really a nice postal building, and you're going to move the other carrier group back, and that way it's not going to inconvenience anyone in the center. And sometimes that's the reason we move carriers. Other times it's because we see that a lease is coming up and that it's not going to be renewed, and we're going to have a lot of trouble, so better to do this sooner than later. And I'm sure that it must be somewhat aggravating to adjust to a new mail flow and go to a different place to sort the mail in the morning to deliver it, but I can only imagine that they did it because they had a good reason to. I know that every single file I have that I take a trip for has a study. There is an extensive study. It's about, sometimes it's 30 to 50 pages long with all of the details depending on the size of the post office and the community. So it's above my pay grade almost. I can't really tell you exactly why, but I'm sure if you ask your postmaster, he might be able to explain things in a much more rational way than I could. And please forgive me because, you know, I'm learning the post office. I started here in July and I've gotten a lot under my belt, and I'm sure that in several years, more of these kinds of questions that will come from my colleagues on the ground. Believe me, if it weren't for our citizens and our mail carriers, we wouldn't have anything to do. So we're grateful to you. Sir?
What's the time frame on the move?
Okay. And here's what happens. We have, you know, this is critical. We've got to get this post office moved because we're working on a lease extension for that one just so that we can get our build time in for the new post office. So after the 30 days, I will be up the following week and I will be meeting with the district. And again, we're going to vote on everything. And that being said, once that happens, that piece of paper allows me to pass the file on to architects and engineering, and they take it from there. They're going to run with it, and the fact that, you know, our lease is coming up makes it critical, so I'm sure this is going to get pushed along much faster.
So you're saying it could be a half a year. In the meantime, in front of our present post office, we have two mailboxes in front of the store. One for when you turn left out the post, and one when you turn right. Okay.
Are those historical boxes?
Pardon me?
Are those the boxes with historical?
Right. That is certain. Okay. The one is apparent. They're both in terrible shape.
I saw the pictures. I saw a picture.
There's only one. So as you turn right out of the post office, there's no mail drop. So what people are doing, and I've seen it, they're going to the left and they're turning right out of the left turn.
Yeah, that's
how?
A little dangerous.
Yeah, I've seen this, but why can't you just put in another mailbox?
It's a valid question, and you know what? Like I said, I'm going to ask the right person. I will get it done, and I'm not going to say I'm going to get it done. I will ask the right question. You're going to email me with that question because imagine about 30 of these things flying around my head. If I have an email, I can address it. This particular question won't be too difficult or too long in answering. You know, and yes, things do tend to take time. I look at my file. I got here in July, and this has been sitting around since 2014.
That's been sitting there for.
I know. This is getting work. This is not getting completed. This is happening. I'll never promise you anything I can't deliver, but I know that this is happening.
Well, before it actually happens.
Valid, very valid comment. Anyone else have any questions?
Question? Yes.
Sir.
Yes, David Held here. Quick question. The vote, you said there's going to be the district board is going to be voting on that? Or
Yes, that's basically the system we use. You know, there are different levels in the district, and they all come together at one point, and we sit around a table and deliberate about the sites, and sometimes the real estate specialists duck, and we let the fire fly a little bit, and hopefully at the end of the day, we have the signatures, sign off, and that's where I can take this and give it to my colleague in architecture and engineering.
And that board consists of employees of the post office, correct?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have district managers, you have postmasters, you have discontinuance coordinators. Discontinuance coordinator is really a continuance coordinator.
Yeah.
Because we really can't discontinue something, but we have to be able to handle it.
Right, okay. And is there a meeting date set for that? Do you know?
After the 30 days, and after considering the comments and talking to my colleagues other real estate specialists in Greensboro. Probably 1 week after the 30-day mark, I will be out here, or I'll be out here the following week. But you have to understand something. Getting everyone together on their schedules in one fell swoop, with me, also with mine, it's hurting, you know, it's like
Right, it's just
trying to manage the
find
hurt.
a date, so it's not like there's a preset date, like the first Friday or.
No, it's not a
something like
preset
that.
date.
Okay. That answers my question.
No, that's all right, but it will get done.
Right.
It will get done, promise that.
All right, thank you.
I'm not shy, you know, you can ask me more questions. Thank you so much, I really appreciate it. And what I'm gonna do is, I have, this will give me 450 business cards left. If you take these off my hands, I'd really appreciate it. I'll give you one to anyone who wants it. It has my email. And if you do have a question, put it in the email, because it just solidifies it. You know, I can print it out, I can address it with the right person, and I can also answer you and let you know either the answer or where the question has gone, who will be contacting you. Sir?
Did you say you had 2 sites already considered?
I'd say after today we have about 4, and there could be more sites depending on what kind of commentary we get back. Sometimes there are businesses in business. Well, there's one gentleman who's got a going concern, and quite by accident, our broker found out about it and went to visit him, and that's also a possibility too. I didn't have that. I didn't know about that when I came this morning. So it had a lot of merits as well.
Can you tell us where they are?
I would rather you take a look at what's available in the area. Send me an email, and what I don't want to do is prejudice the process. I want it to be impartial. Rest assured, you know, we're not going to go into a center with cracked paving, and we're not going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this move and put it into something that is substandard. This is going to be safe, it's going to be clean, it's going to be functional, and it's got to last us 15 or 20 years. Well, you know how long post offices last. So, if I was obscure in my answer, I apologize. I just want you all to be part of this activity for 30 days. If you see something, if you have a question, send it in. And what we do is we send out a decision letter. The Vice President of Real Estate decides after everything is presented, and that's basically the final word. Mine is not. Mine is just to go out there and identify and put as much information in front of my colleagues as possible.
Mr. Wolf, if I could, I went ahead and sent you an email. Larry, I copied you on that email in regards to the mailbox out at the curb. I just sent that to you. Could you copy us both on the correspondence on what the plan is to get a box placed?
I know just the person to get in touch with. I will do so, and I'm sure that, see, I don't have access to the box. I don't have a warehouse full of boxes, but there are.
No, I agree. I think it'd be
No, but
simple to grab a box and
I
it needs to be done.
I promise I'm getting this to the right person. How that part of the.
Thank you, sir.
There's the right person.
You have
There we
access to
go.
the boxes?
Yep, yeah, both of us here.
Okay.
Mr. Curry, I'll send you an email as well.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And actually, I was going to talk about.
Okay.
I didn't mean to be obscure about Mr. Curry. I just didn't want to put him in any position where I like to put anyone in a position. I try to be a diplomat.
Outstanding. Well, thank you.
You're a good
Are there any more questions from anyone? Sir?
Sorry.
I thought I was a little smarter before I walked in these doors. When I talked to you, you said the North Canton area didn't have to be inside North Canton.
When was that?
When I talked to you.
post office has to remain in the same zip code.
In the city limits.
In the city limits of North Canton, in this zip code.
No, I'm still 4472, and I'm outside the city limits.
Our zip code is further.
It has to stay within 4720. But okay, it don't have to be inside the city limits.
We would appreciate
It has to be
it.
within the limits.
We want it in the
of
city
zip
limits.
code.
I'll speak
And what we try to do is relocate the post office
I'm not going to Jackson Town.
as close as we can with a property that makes
So I
sense.
was trying to see whether we're totally eliminated. From the strip area. Some of that is.
Yeah. If I could just add,
Yeah,
this,
Pastorian is 720. 720 goes out of the city a good way, so it just,
It goes past Lake Springs.
Yeah, then we don't want to purposely move the post office out of the zip code. We can't do that. And
No, I didn't ask the zip code. I asked the city limits. Out of the city of North Canton.
all right, if North Canton has 4 zip codes, I can only put it within the parameter of the zip code that it belongs to.
yeah.
And I'm sorry if I confused you in any way. That was not my intention.
Some of the 20 zip codes.
It's outside the city.
Inside the city limits of North Canton.
that is correct.
Some of them are county.
Some of it is, and that is correct too.
Inside of North Canton, or can they go outside of North Canton, we still is 720.
We'd like it in the city.
Mr. Curry, could you answer that question? I think you'd be better able to than I am. He wants to know if outside the city you have the same zip code?
I do.
Okay.
So, maybe,
In other words, the zip code lines don't necessarily.
But don't we just have to go through more of the process before anything else can be answered? Right? Jeff? Yeah. I mean, the process just has to go forward before you can answer some more of these questions. Like you said, you'll bring your team up and then you'll investigate 5 different sites, right?
I'm going to try to cover everyone
Yes.
at the same time and get the sites taken care of.
So it's just going to take a little more time and investigation before you can really pinpoint exactly what it is.
If I'm going to come up from Greensboro, North Carolina, to North Canton, Ohio, I want to get everyone together on the same day, and it is my prayer and my wish that I can get that piece of paper signed, because I really do like to get files moving in the right direction.
No, I think you've made that clear. You've done a nice job. Thank you.
And we would like it to be in the city limits, just so you know that.
that's right.
Yeah.
It's not going to move very far from where it is.
That's the number one priority.
Yeah, it's staying here, we're not moving it anywhere.
Jeff?
And
Thank you. All right, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
All right.
Thank you all very much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and I've got a whole slew of business cards that I want to just
Thank you. And they might want some of the audience and then they can.
Oh, absolutely. You got it.
Because they,
I got you already too.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
We gotta get that. Thank you.
Ready? Mary Beth, are we on? Are we on? Okay, at this time, I'm going to call to order the council meeting. Monday, February 27th, 2017, 7:05 p.m. Opening prayer. Mark, would you like to lead us?
Would anybody out there would like to say a prayer this evening?
Okay.
When is we have attention so God can talk? Lord, thank you for bringing us here this evening as a community. Thank you for this wonderful community that we can all gather together. Help us to have courage, determination, and compassion for everything that goes through this office. And help us to
just come together and make sure that this place is run the way you would like it to be run. Help us to think and help us to talk with the words that you would like us to think and talk with. Let's look forward, and we thank you for the community that you have given us, and help us to maintain it and make it a great place to live, learn, work, and play. In God's name, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Soretta,
Here.
Folds,
Here.
Fontaine, Griffin,
Here.
Peters,
Yeah, here.
and Waring.
Here.
6 present, Mr. President.
Motion to excuse Member Kiesling.
So moved.
Second.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
and Soretta.
Yes.
6 yes to excuse Councilwoman Kiesling.
All right, thank you very much. For your consideration, may I have a motion and a second to approve as presented the council meeting minutes, January 23rd, 2017, Mayor's Court receipts, January 2017, and financial statement, January 17, month-end reports.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Soretta,
Yes.
and Folds.
Yes.
6 yes to approve the above minutes and reports.
Thank you. At this time, if you wish to address council, please step forward, state your name and address.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Nice job.
Chuck Osborne, 307 Fairview Street Southeast, North Canton, Ohio. The habitual violation of North Canton's charter by city officials that has and continues to occur is unnerving, unacceptable, and unlawful. Section 3.073 of the charter, titled Zoning and Building Standards Board of Appeals, states in part, and I quote, "It shall be the duty of the Zoning and Building Standards Board of Appeals to hear and decide appeals for exceptions to and variations in the application of ordinances in the municipality. If that is unclear, further guidance comes from Chapter 112502-116 of North Canton Zoning Code, which defines a variance as a grant by the Board of Zoning Appeals. This provision has existed in the city charter since 1963. At a meeting of the North Canton Planning Commission on August 5th, 2015, the Commission, in violation of the charter, granted a variance for the construction of a cell tower at First Friends Church. Present at the meeting were all members of the Commission, including City Administrator Mike Grimes, former City Engineer Jim Denikas, former Director of Permits and Development Eric Bowles, and City Council's Chairperson of Ordinance, Rules and Claims Committee, Stephanie Waring. Also present at the meeting was North Canton's Legal Authority, Law Director Tim Fox. How could this have been allowed to happen? How could all these individuals allow the Planning Commission to exceed its authority under the charter? This was unprecedented in my 16 years of observations of the actions of North Canton City government. The decision of the Planning Commission was appealed by parties in opposition to the tower, and on September 22nd, 2015, the appeal was to be heard by the city's Zoning Board of Appeals. As the board meeting was about to hear the appeal, Law Director Tim Fox acknowledged that the procedural requirements were not followed. The admission that the Planning Commission had exceeded its authority forced a reapplication of the entire issue before the Planning Commission, which took place on December 9, 2015. Another violation of North Canton's charter derives from requirements in another part of Section 3.07. In paragraph 2, titled Planning Commission, and paragraph 3, titled Zoning Building Standards Board of Appeals, the charter states in part, and I quote, "A member of council selected by council shall serve as non-voting members of the commission in an advisory capacity and shall attend all meetings." For Planning Commission meetings, City Council's Chairperson of Economic Development Committee, Marcia Kiesling, is council's selected representative, and by charter is required to attend all meetings of the Planning Commission. Over the last 4 years, Mrs. Kiesling has attended 6 of the 36 meetings of the Planning Commission. Percentage-wise, Councilwoman Kiesling has been absent for 80% of the meetings she is obligated by charter to attend. For meetings of the Zoning Board of Appeals, City Council's chairperson of Ordinance, Rules, and Claims Committee, Stephanie Warren, is council's selected representative and by charter is required to attend all meetings of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Over the last 4 years, Mrs. Warren has attended none, and I say none, of the 6 meetings of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Percentage-wise, Mrs. Warren has been absent for 100% of the meetings she is obligated by charter to attend. The most recent violation of North Canton's charter originates from section 6.04, which states, and I quote, "In January 1967 and in January of each 10th year thereafter, the council shall appoint a commission of 15 electors of the municipality. Such commission shall review the municipal charter and recommend to council such alterations, revisions, and amendments, if any, are desirable. Council has failed to act in accordance with this charter provision. This failure to act as prescribed hampers the work of the Charter Review Commission, and it jeopardizes the success of the Commission's work. Elected and appointed city officials who cannot comply with North Canton's city charter should resign or be replaced." Off that main topic, I'd like to address ordinance number 627, where you're asking for an increase in compensation. I think it should be made aware, and maybe you guys have forgotten, that taxpayers add to your pension. And I'm not sure whether it's 10%, Mrs. Brown, can you clarify that, or 14% of the total 24% contribution? 14%. So 14% of $600 is $84. So you're already benefiting by the taxpayers in the amount of $684 a month. These violations, and you have the audacity to ask for a raise, and presupposed in that is that you're going to stick around for 10 years or more so you can draw a pension. This is utterly unbelievable.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne.
I'm going to go ahead and address that before anyone else comes up. Mr. Osborne incorrectly stated that the Planning Commission granted a variance for the cell tower, and clearly that did not occur. A Planning Commission member said that they approved of the variance. Clearly, the Planning Commission can't grant a variance by the charter. That comes from the Zoning Board of Appeals and Building Standards. As a result of that, because they couldn't grant the variance, the applicant for the cell tower simply moved the location, so it no longer required variance, and the person, it's actually the city of Canton, dismissed their complaint, their application regarding the variance. So clearly that did not occur.
Can I address that?
Thank you. No, sir. You've had your time.
No surprise.
You had 5 minutes. If there's anyone else wishing to address council, please step forward, state your name and address.
Sue Platt, 801 Briar Northeast. As a taxpayer of North Canton, I believe the EMS levy should have been placed on the May primary ballot, which is statistically a low turnout, around 13% in an odd year. My research indicates that the special election will cost approximately $1,000 per precinct, and there are 13 precincts are 13 precincts in North Canton. Therefore, the cost to the city will be closer to $13,000 and maybe more, not the $7,500 to $10,000 which was stated at the last meeting. Since this is a year for local elections, there is a very slim chance that the cost will be shared with another entity. Where is the oversight? What is going to be done so this doesn't happen again? The money spent on the special election could be used in many other ways. For example, to upgrade the sound system in this room. I do believe the EMS does an outstanding job. Thankfully, I have never had to use their service. My concern is about money being spent unnecessarily because research wasn't done in a timely manner. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could address that real quick as well. We are going to put a process in place that is going to remind any future council when a sunset provision is coming up on a levy. We went through some transition when we hired a new finance director. That had some effect to it, and we're hoping that the safeguards that we put in place, I can pretty much guarantee that will save us the money in the future.
Miriam Boffman, 320 Weber. Tonight you're voting on the second reading, ordinance 6/2017, for the increase in salary for Counccil. You're doing all the right things, and this is good. You're having 3 readings. It's been publicized. You had a work session. Anybody that is concerned about it has the chance to come up and say, yes, this should happen, or no, it shouldn't happen. My concern is of this ordinance, section 3, which says that should the General Assembly increase the minimum salary level to qualify for Public Employees Retirement System full credit, the above salary level shall automatically increase to that level. To automatically increase takes away transparency, takes away the voice of the people, the very people who pay taxes and pay your salary. The increase is going to run through 2018 that you are going to vote on. That's a year and a half away. A lot can happen. If the PERS board goes to the General Assembly and says, we want to raise it again, they are mandated to keep it, the PERS pension system, viable. What if in a year and a half or 2 years they get into trouble and they have to raise the minimum $400? How could we afford to give everybody a $400 raise and it would be automatic? Also, you don't know what's going to happen in North Canton. Maybe in 2 or 3 years, something happens that there's a downturn and there's a deficit in the budget. And then at the same time, PERS raises their minimum, then automatically you'd get a raise. And this is all without the voice of the people. I know that I read your campaign literature, and a lot of you say open and honest government. Putting this provision is not open. And who else gets automatic pay raises without, just to keep getting them and getting them without any input from anybody? I ask that you table this ordinance so that you can amend it to remove section 3 and keep the voice of the people intact. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll address that real quick before we have the second reading. You asked who else does this apply to, and it applies to all the township trustees in the state of Ohio, which make on average of $23,000 a year plus full medical benefits. By action of this council 3-4 years ago, the medical benefits were taken away from the council, which basically reduced the total compensation by almost 50%. Okay, and at the same time, there was a modest increase. I can't remember exactly what that was. Brought it to 7,200. Is that what it was? 7,200. And what this does is every time the General Assembly acts, it sets it to the minimum required, which, you know, in the discussion we had in the work session, the mayor weighed in on this as well. You know, we felt that it was modest. It was a modest increase, but we also felt it was fair for future councils. You know, there's a lot that goes in to this position, there is a lot of responsibility. And all that we're putting in place for future councils is the minimum. Nothing more than that. You know, it could have gone higher, but truthfully, I didn't think this council, I don't think a person up here would have agreed to that. I think they would have agreed to the minimum, but I don't believe that, and I get it. Look, I understand the argument, especially in the political climate that we're in right now in this country. You know, every lawmaker from top down are a bunch of crooks and criminals. And depending on which side of the aisle you're on, it's a lot worse than that sometimes. I know that this is a good group, and I know that future councils in this city are going to be good groups because they are truly going to be citizen representatives. Nobody is getting rich up here by setting it to the minimum. All we're doing is setting it as to fair and modest increases as the state legislature puts forth. Now keep in mind also, in that local arena here, we run every 2 years, okay? I'm only speaking for myself. I don't take much money in. I think in the 5 or 6 campaigns that I've run, I've taken in maybe $200, $300, somewhere around there, and I've spent over $10,000 out of my pocket for this. That, you know, in my opinion, that is a true representative, a citizen representative, regardless of what we hear from other people that are in this room. You know, we work hard, we do our best, and we have a lot of responsibility, and mistakes will be made.
I have no problem with getting raises.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, well, yeah, you would be fair. You know,
I didn't give Chuck time for rebuttal, but you and I can talk after about this. I'd be more than happy to debate this with you because I feel it's on. I feel it's fair, and I feel it's honest and transparent as well. Ma'am?
Jessica Stroy, 638 Portage Street, Northwest. I'm just addressing council because where I live on Portage, it is such an active place. Having a young child and then having children in the neighborhood, the strip of road I know was discussed in a speed study, and I just wanted to show my support in that because I know with talking with Doug that Portage is the gateway to our city, and I fully support all changes, anything. I will give up as much as my front yard as you need to make it something that's safer, a little more pretty, so that people can drive in and be proud to see my house in the historic green that it is. And what, as a citizen, I have tried to start in the past week is I've drafted a letter for the people of my neighborhood to try to walk around, talk with them, discuss that. Because I don't think, obviously by the fact that there's 7 people in this gallery, they don't realize that, you know, they have the ability to change the speed on that road. And they don't even know that from Hillcrest to on Charlotte to Main Street, that they're changing that either. So I feel like as a member of North Canton, I want to urge them to understand these changes. And I also just want to address that it's something I'm strong about, that I really, in the year my husband and I moved in last April, so it hasn't even been a full calendar year, there's been 4 accidents within just from Lindy Lane to right there in Willamette. Just last weekend, there was one, and I was sitting on Crime Watch trying to figure out like what they were doing when they didn't post anything. But I just want to show my support, please, if it's something that you're on the fence about, please, I urge you to agree, or at least agree to talk about it. It's something that there's at least 3 bus stops right there. And it's a very active area because there's a park. And even walking with my son, you have to truly walk very far on the left just to not get wind from cars. And anytime there's emergency vehicles, you know, cars have to pull over. They've pulled over onto that curb area, and there's not much of it. So please just make sure you think about the full grasp for what it should change. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate the comments, and I think I'm sure you're going to stick around. There's been some recent developments. Director of Administrative Services has done some research on this. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised by what he has to say. There's going to be some new information for council, so. Okay.
Just hold on.
Yeah, we'll hold off on that one. Anyone else wishing to address council, please step forward, state your name and address. Young man, are you sure you don't want to say something?
While he decides, I just want to point out that stating that scheduling a levy at the chosen time was an oversight is really an unfair presumption on the person's statement. Levies are scheduled at various times. Whether or not they're scheduled and it falls in line with a special election is simply one of the factors that's under consideration. It's not the only factors. Levies are scheduled for periods of when they're most likely to be successful. So stating that it was an oversight. Perhaps you weren't involved in all of the evaluation and criteria that were considered for that scheduling opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lockridge, would you like to address council, or do you want to wait till afterwards? You're good? That's my nephew.
That's right.
So that's why he's giving you a hard time.
Thanks for coming.
Anyone else wishing to address council? Okay, with that, we will move on to old business. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only the second reading of ordinance number 6-17?
So moved.
Second?
Griffith,
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Surratt.
Yes.
Folds.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
6 yes to read by title only the second reading of ordinance number 6, 2017, an ordinance establishing the rates of compensation for future officials of the city of North Canton, Ohio, effective January 1st, 2018.
Thank you. Without stating exactly what I said during the public speaks portion of my rebuttal, that basically lays it out. It's setting future council member salary to the minimum set forth by the Ohio legislature. Any questions or concerns on that? If not, I will entertain a motion to adopt the second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Peters.
Yes.
Waring.
Yes.
Surratt.
Yes.
Folds.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
And Griffith.
Yes.
6 yes to adopt the second reading of ordinance number 6, 2017.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only the second reading of ordinance number 15-17?
So moved.
Second.
Waring.
Yes.
Surratt.
Yes.
Folds.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
Griffith.
Yes.
And Peters.
Yes.
6 yes to read by title only the second reading of ordinance number 15, 2017, an ordinance authorizing the vacation of a public drainage and utility easement and a 16-inch sanitary sewer easement located in the Irondale Circle Northeast area within the city of North Canton, Stark County, and as recorded in Plat Book 47, page 10 of the Stark County Plat Records, but is no longer needed for municipal purposes.
Thank you, Chairman Fontaine. That's you.
This is the easement for the land swap we had on Irondale, I believe.
That's a circle where we squared it off.
Yeah, so we swapped, we don't need the utility, for municipal purposes, we don't need it anymore. So, I move we pass that.
Second?
Surratt.
Yes.
Folds.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
Griffith.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
And Waring.
Yes.
6 yes to adopt the second reading of ordinance number 15, 2017.
All right, thank you. Before I go to item 10, I'm going to at this point open it to Mr. DiOrio. And I want you to talk about resolution 2 and 3. This is the reduction in miles per hour on Main Street and Portage. And I'll let him lay it out to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We should preface what I'm going to say by first reading from Ohio Department of Transportation website, where it indicates that, quote, "It should be noted that ODOT-approved speed zones are needed for roads and streets that are to have a speed limit lower than the statutory prima facie speed limit given in the Ohio Revised Code regardless of jurisdiction. This includes rural state highways, county and township roads and streets in both cities and villages. It should be noted that while both cities and villages are required to have ODOT approval to have a speed limit lower than the statutory prima facie speed limit given in the Ohio Revised Code, they can raise speed limits on their streets without ODOT approval." So when we asked you to postpone discussion on that, I graciously appreciate that. It gave an opportunity for myself, engineer Rob Graham, and the representative from the IBI group who conducted the studies to get together and address these issues. And the issue was, and I tasked to them the subject matter, and they were to do their own research. I did mine. What is the statutory prima facie limit on these individual streets? And we met, and it was, kind of exciting, I guess, for talking about speed limits, but we came to the same conclusions, finding the same sections in the revised code that led us to come up with a list of 3 recommendations, which I put into writing and forwarded to the law director for his review. But in our review of it, and just starting with Charlotte, we believe that Charlotte is not defined as a through highway, regardless of what street it comes from. It's just a street. And as a street, the prima facie statutory limit is 25. And since council has the ability to lower the speed limit as long as you don't go below the 25-mile-per-hour statutory prima facie limit, it would be council's discretion to when you would want to implement a reduction in speed. But we believe you could go to that level of 25. So that's different than what I had said before, but we were able to approach this more from a looking at the standard of what is the definitions and how they apply, and actually working through the different sections of the revised code. So that I thought was good news, we thought, for Charlotte, in that it gives council, we think, some latitude what they want to do there. Skip Main Street just for a second. Talk about portage. And in the definition of freeway, we thought that portage met that criteria as the definition was spelled out in the code. So the first thing was that it had to be more than a mile in length to be in that first leg of criteria to be considered a through highway. So engineer had, we had measured that, and it actually turned out from corporation limit is where the starting point would be to where the road reached its terminus was 1.06 miles. However, there is an exception to that definition that says that if during the course of that stretch of road there is a traffic control device that forces traffic on portage to yield to intersecting traffic, which we found on Green, and you would also find in Pittsburgh, that then there is not a stretch of road that is 1 mile or more in length that doesn't have already a traffic control device. Therefore, we didn't feel it met the definition of a throughway, which then, what definition does it meet, would fell back to the next level, street. And at street, we believe then the limit is 25 miles per hour. And again, council would have the ability to change that without ODOT approval because you wouldn't be going below the statutory limit. As it relates to Main Street, we believe that Main Street fit the definition of a throughway. However, always being an exception to every rule, it seems that the Ohio Revised Code carved out a provision for inside business districts, what you can or cannot do to throughways as they run through a business district. And it seemed the focus of the ORC that we could find was that outside the business district, and there was a limitation placed on what you could do to the speed limit without their approval. We were focusing on what was inside the business district, and the business district was further defined in the Ohio Revised Code to be that the frontage on the street had to be at least 50% business along that expanse. And we were looking at where Charlotte came out onto Main and down to Bachville, Maine. And in our discussions, we were throwing out, well, you know, there's City Hall. Is that a business? Is that government? There's church. Is that a business or is that something else? Up and down the street. So we brought up the satellite images and just went down and looked. And although perhaps we found that on maybe one side of the street there might have been a business or a school, government or a school. On the other side of the street, there was business. So it at least met that 50% criteria that is required. So we felt we had a legitimate definition of a business district. We had a throughway that went through the business district. And there is latitude within that business district to adjust the speed limit to a limit lower than the prima facie limit, even without ODOT's approval. However, we felt that since the number that was obtained, going from 35 to 30, that seemed to be a unique number, that we thought it would be best to refer that to ODOT anyway, and to allow them to weigh in and see if that met the criteria and if they were to grant it. So that was the recommendation that we came with, is that we thought that with the Pittsburgh Road area from city limit to Ream, where it dead ends, and from Charlotte, where it starts to where it ends, that would be within council's purview to lower it to the statutory limit. But that Main Street, we felt, should be referred to the District 4 representative of ODOT. That was my conclusion.
Thank you, Pat. I appreciate that. So for the folks in the audience that may not have heard all of that, because I heard the commotion outside, the recommendation is to move forward with sending it to the Director of Transportation for the Main Street for his approval from 35 to 30, but as it relates to Portage, it's within our purview to move it to 25 if we like, without further study, which is going to save us $10,000, $7,000, whatever it is, dollars. So,
You might want to waive off this because you have a legal opinion from your engineer and
right. But as it relates to the legislative action tonight, what I'm going to do is ask that we move forward with 2-17. That's the Main Street. That's sending it to the Director of Transportation. And as it relates to 3-17, it is on the table now. Correct? Is this on the table? Did we table this?
No, not yet.
It's not tabled.
I think we passed it on the first, so we would see. I don't believe it is on.
You were going to table it tonight.
Going to table
after we read it.
Okay, so why don't we table it then? Can we do that?
motion and roll call vote if you wish to table it. But what I guess what you're asking is you're stating that your engineer and the assistant to your administrator have looked at the law and you're deciding from that,
right,
we're not going to contact ODOT. And based on that, we're going to move forward with what we wish to do.
Well, as it relates to the legislative portion here, that's all we're talking about. Before,
Right, yeah.
You know, before we move forward, we'll certainly cross the Ts and dot the Is. But as it relates to this, I don't think we need to send this to the Director of Transportation.
Well,
Why don't we, go ahead.
yeah, it sounds like that is, I mean, an open question that you resolve, but presuming that that is the correct answer, we would need to take different action to lower the speed limit on Portage, correct?
Yeah.
We would need to affirmatively do that through ordinance.
Right.
So what we would do is, if in fact we're all comfortable that that's the right way to proceed, then we would just substitute new legislation. So I don't have a problem. I mean, I think it does make sense to not move forward with 3 tonight too.
Right.
Just because whatever we do, we're going to do something else. So if it's this, we can move forward with this. If it isn't, then we can go from there. So.
That's all I propose tonight.
Yeah.
Is table in 3 and go and move forward with 2.
Right. We can pull it from the table. Yeah.
But do you want to pass the second table before 3? And then we just have one reading when we're really ready to go?
Have the second reading of number 2.
Yes.
And then just table number 3, right?
Right. So if we're ready to go, when we're ready to go, we can pull it off the table and do that.
Well,
We have to have 2 more readings. If we're going to table, we're
After
not
we
reading.
table, we have 2 readings.
We're not reading, we're not going to, we're tabling the second, we're not going to read it.
but the bottom line is, through our,
I guess I'm asking if you're saying you're holding off because you don't want to ask the Director of Transportation this question because you want to act on your authority. I imagine if indeed that is the correct legal answer to that, ODOT will, and I'm certain because I haven't been involved in submitting one of those, but I imagine if it is within the purview of local authority, that's how it will come back. It won't be stated through ODOT and its legislative authority. It is going to state that very well, or it's going to state that under its direction, you're authorized to reduce the speed limit. I imagine what it's going to do, if it believes it's under our purview, is state that.
Is there a problem?
let me ask you this though, as this is written, because I think, Pat, in your discussions, or one of you two, in your discussions, wasn't the number 30 an issue? And if we went forward with this, the number 30 for Portage, or for Charlotte, Portage, could that be an issue?
Certainly, this isn't a legal opinion. Okay, this is just an observations on our reviewing certain sections of the code, but also with, the representative from the IBI group was his feelings in having done a number of these studies over the years from numerous municipalities, numerous sections of road. It was just brought to our attention that in all the experience that he has, he doesn't see where 30 is a natural number in the code. The natural numbers for a municipality within their jurisdiction is 35, 25, 20, and 10.
Correct.
And what would they do with that? Who knows? But it didn't seem to be something that would inhibit us from asking. And that's all you're really doing is asking.
Okay. I guess where I'm at, being a non-lawyer here, when I heard that, I heard that we didn't have to have the rest of the road study. That's what I was hearing. We didn't have to spend the rest of the money. We didn't have to spend the rest of the money, have the rest of the study if it was under our purview. So as law director, are you saying you think we'd be better off served sending this?
I'm saying I didn't have much time to review it, and as you're taking it as a legal opinion, stating we can take it under our own authority, and what I urge is caution in that before you take that position, you want to be absolutely clear that you have the authority to do that. I haven't had the opportunity to go through what was laced in there, but if you're asking the authority on speed limits for that, the answer to those questions, my point is, why wouldn't you proceed with that if it is within your legal authority to limit that. I imagine that's how it's gonna come back.
Well, we're asking, in Resolution 2, 2017, we have the supporting study already, is that correct?
With regard to Main Street?
Correct.
Yes, you have a traffic study to support.
And if we're asking
Both
on,
of them. For both of them.
but we
traffic
don't have a
study.
supporting study for the request
On Portage.
on Portage,
No,
right?
no, these two ordinances.
Correct,
Yeah, exactly, for Charlotte, but not for,
but not for Portage.
Portage,
For the
correct.
broader part of Portage, which is the concern you're talking about.
yes, which is based on their conversations and how they read it. Certainly, we'd like the law director to read it as well.
Yes, I agree with
And
that.
give us our opinion, but that's what I heard. I mean, I heard the good news, we didn't have to have the rest of it studied.
So we can read the second.
And the other component is from 30, if that is in fact the case, then it's within our purview to take it to 25.
And even though we're moving forward with the legislation as far as pulling the trigger for the study, if it deems warranted that we hold off on that for a little bit of time, we certainly can do that. It doesn't mean that as soon as this is enacted that we have to move on that. If we believe that it's within our authority not to have this study and we can lower the limit, then we can come back on that
So we have nothing to lose,
So-
just go for it.
Just say, go ahead and move forward with this.
We have to do it 3 times
It-
anyway, yeah.
Let's just.
move it along.
Let's
As
just pass-
far
just
as
pass
doing the
the
study,
second
you don't
reading.
have to immediately proceed on that. And we've seen ordinances that have sat as far as requests for have things done that they're just not immediately completed for a variety of reasons. And this one certainly deems a closer look at what may or may not be within our own legal authority. And if we can absolutely verify that without having to do a study, consult ODOT, then we should. But I just ask you to let us follow through with the process before we perhaps act rashly and lower those limits and then find out we didn't have the authority to do so.
Do you think you'll have a chance to do so before we would pass the 3rd reading, Tim?
Perhaps.
But we would have the opportunity to not pass the 3rd reading until you had that opportunity.
Sure.
Okay, all right.
Okay, fair
Good
enough.
with that, we just pass it 2 readings and we'll talk about it in 2
Yes.
weeks.
That's fair.
Get more information.
Okay,
All right?
thank you. Okay, with that, let's move on, and thank you, Pat, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for your research.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
Tim.
Rob.
And I have a motion and a second to read by title only the second reading of resolution number 2-7.
So moved.
Second.
Folds? Folds?
Yes.
Fontaine?
Yes.
Griffith?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Waring?
Yes.
And Surratt?
Yes.
6 yes to read by title only the second reading of Resolution 2, 2017, a resolution requesting the Director of Transportation for the State of Ohio authorize and approve a reduction from 35 miles per hour to 30 miles per hour on Main Street beginning at the intersection of Bechtel Street Southwest, proceeding north and ending at the intersection of Charlotte Street Northwest in the city of North Canton, Ohio.
Okay, this is what we just discussed. We're moving forward.
Motion to approve second reading.
Second?
Fontaine?
Yes.
Griffith?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Waring?
Yes.
Surratt?
Yes.
And Folds?
Yes.
6 yes to adopt the second reading of Resolution 2, 2017.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only the second reading of resolution number 3-17?
So moved.
Second?
Griffith?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Waring?
Yes.
Surratt?
Yes.
Folds?
Yes.
Fontaine?
Yes.
6 yes to read by title only the second reading of Resolution 3, 2017, a resolution requesting the Director of Transportation for the State of Ohio authorize and approve a reduction from 35 miles per hour to 30 miles per hour on Charlotte Street Northwest, beginning at the intersection of Hillcrest Avenue Northwest, proceeding east, and ending at the intersection of Charlotte Street Northwest and North Main Street in the city of North Canton, Ohio.
Thank you. I have nothing further to add. Law Director is going to do some further research on this, so entertain a motion for the second.
Second.
Peters?
Yes.
Waring?
Yes.
Surratt?
Yes.
Folds?
Yes.
Fontaine?
Yes.
And Griffith?
Yes.
6 yes to adopt the second reading of Resolution 3, 2017.
Thank you. And may I have a motion, or on to new business? I have a motion and a second to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 23-17.
So moved.
Second.
Waring?
Yes.
Surratt?
Yes.
Folds?
Yes.
Fontaine?
Yes.
Griffith?
Yes.
And Peters?
Yes.
6 yes to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 23, 2017, an ordinance approving, confirming, and accepting a perpetual water main easement known as parcel number 1,000,8509 and being part of 0.0309 acre tract of land by and between the city of North Canton and Ohio Charter Municipal Corporation grantee and 3939 Everhard LLC grantor, and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Thank you. Chairman Fontaine.
This is over on Whipple and Everhard, the DeVille property, that new project we have down there. They're just needing to get access to the sanitary water. And this is on an emergency, and it's for the health and safety piece of the city of North Canton, and it's necessary for the city to have prompt access to the utilities as well as sanitary pipes and other lines. So I move we pass this on emergency.
Second.
Surratt?
Yes.
Folds?
Yes.
Fontaine?
Yes.
Griffith?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
And Waring?
Yes.
6 yes to adopt the first reading of ordinance number 23, 2017.
Thank you. Motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 23-17.
So moved.
Second.
Folds?
Yes.
Fontaine?
Yes.
Griffith?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Waring?
Yes.
And Surratt?
Yes.
6 yes to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 23, 2017.
Thank you. Motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules ordinance number 23-17.
So moved.
Second.
Fontaine?
Yes.
Griffith?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Waring?
Yes.
Surratt?
Yes.
And Folds?
Yes.
6 yes to adopt under suspension of the rules for ordinance number 23, 2017.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 24-17.
So moved.
Second.
Griffith?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Waring?
Yes.
Surratt?
Yes.
Folds?
Yes.
Fontaine?
Yes.
6 yes to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 24, 2017, an ordinance authorizing the Director of Administration of the City of North Canton to advertise and receive bids according to specifications now on file in the Director's office, and authorizing the Mayor of the City of North Canton, upon Board of Control approval, to enter into an agreement for the purchase of 3 marked cruisers from a vendor or an alternative pursuant to the Ohio Cooperative Purchase Act, and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Thank you. Chairman Griffith.
We had a good discussion about this last week, and of course, significant and robust discussion about it during the budget process. These are the 3 new cruisers that have been in the budget and are placed there. No additional dollars are requested. Any questions about this? Seeing none, I would move its approval.
Second.
Peters?
Yes.
Waring?
Yes.
Surratt?
Yes.
Folds?
Yes.
Fontaine?
Yes.
And Griffith?
Yes.
6 yes to adopt the first reading of ordinance number 24, 2017.
Thank you. Motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 24-17.
So moved.
Second.
Waring?
Yes.
Surratt?
Yes.
Folds?
Yes.
Fontaine?
Yes.
Griffith?
Yes.
And Peters?
Yes.
6 yes to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 24, 2017.
And motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules ordinance number 24-17.
So moved.
Second.
Surratt?
Yes.
Folds?
Yes.
Fontaine?
Yes.
Griffith?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
And Waring?
Yes.
6 yes to suspend the rules of council for ordinance number 24, 2017.
Thank you. Motion and a second to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 25-17.
So moved.
Second?
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
and Soretta.
Yes.
6 yes to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 25, 2017, an ordinance authorizing a supplemental appropriation of funds of the city of North Canton to be appropriated from the unappropriated resources of the capital improvement fund to the equipment accounts in total amount of $20,950 for the current expenses during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017.
Thank you, Chairman Griffith.
This is a green eye-shade kind of action here. What we're doing is taking money from the bucket that's set aside for general capital expenses, and we're putting it into the 3 different equipment line items where the equipment will actually be purchased. Laura, correct me if I'm wrong, does that sound about right?
That sounds right.
Very good. So these are just, again, appropriating dollars that we discussed during the budget process. Any questions? Seeing none, I would move its approval.
Second?
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Soretta,
Yes.
and Folds.
Yes.
6 yes to adopt the first reading of ordinance number 25, 2017.
Thank you, and as this is an appropriation, I only need to suspend the rules, so motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 25-17.
So moved.
Second.
Griffith,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Soretta,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
6 yes to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 25, 2017.
Thank you. Motion and a second to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 26-17.
So moved.
Second?
Peters,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
Soretta,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
and Griffith.
Yes.
6 yes to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 26, 2017, an ordinance permitting the city of North Canton to sign the satisfaction of mortgage for a performance bond in the amount of $97,823 and a maintenance bond in the amount of that's the page.
Find it?
Yes. And a maintenance bond in the amount of $103,706 between the city and McKinley Development Corporation for the Sanctuary Number 3 construction project as set forth in ordinance number 46, 2016.
Outstanding save, by the way. Chairman Griffith.
Agreed. Well done. This is a performance bond for a project which is now complete, so we are at liberty to release that satisfactory mortgage. I would move its approval if there are no questions.
Second?
Waring,
Yes.
Soretta,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
and Peters.
Yes.
6 yes to adopt the first reading of ordinance number 26, 2017.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 27-17?
So moved.
Second?
Soretta,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
and Waring.
Yes.
6 yes to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 27, 2017, an ordinance permitting the city of North Canton to enter into a sidewalk performance bond in the amount of $52,179 and a maintenance bond in the amount of $51,853 between the city and McKinley Development Corporation for the Sanctuary Number 3 construction project.
Thank you, Chairman Griffith.
This is a new project that we need to encumber with a performance bond to make sure that everything gets done appropriately. Any questions? All right, I would move its approval.
Second?
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Waring,
Yes.
and Soretta.
Yes.
6 yes to adopt the first reading of ordinance number 27, 2017.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 28-17?
So moved.
Second?
Fontaine?
Yes.
Griffith?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Waring?
Yes.
Surratt?
Yes.
And Foltz?
Yes.
6 yes to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 28, 2017, an ordinance permitting the city of North Canton to enter into 2 mortgages in the amounts of $52,179 and $51,853 between the city and McKinley Development Corporation for the Sanctuary Number 3 construction project.
Thank you. Chairman Griffith.
Again, these are 2 associated items for construction bonds. I would move their approval.
Second?
Griffith?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Waring?
Yes.
Surratt?
Yes.
Foltz?
Yes.
Fontaine?
Yes.
6 yes to adopt the first reading of ordinance number 28, 2017.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only, first reading of resolution number 4-17.
So moved.
Second?
Peters?
Yes.
Waring?
Yes.
Surratt?
Yes.
Foltz?
Yes.
Fontaine?
Yes.
And Griffith?
Yes.
6 yes to read by title only the first reading of resolution 4, 2017, a resolution on submission of request to the Stark County Auditor pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 5705.03B to certify to the City of North Canton, Stark County, Ohio, as taxing authority for the City of North Canton, Stark County, Ohio, as a subdivision, and the dollar amount of revenue that would be generated for a renewal tax of 1 1/2 bills pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Sections 5705.19, 5705.191, and 5705.25 for the purpose of providing ambulance service, emergency medical service, or both in the City of North Canton for a period of 5 years, taxing years 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021, commencing 2017, first due in the calendar year 2018, and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Thank you. Chairman Griffith.
This is the first step in the process of certifying the EMS levy down to the folks at the auditor's office. I also agree that, it would have been best practice for us to do this early, and personally want to say, I'm sorry that if there was something there to be missed, that I may have been not as helpful in doing it too, and I regret that we didn't get it done earlier. I also think that it's really important that we have 2 bites at the apple to make sure that if it is missed, we're not out hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. So I apologize, but also feel that it's really important that we move forward with this right now unless we need to do it. So, are there other questions or concerns? I would move its approval.
Second?
Waring?
Yes.
Surratt?
Yes.
Foltz?
Yes.
Fontaine?
Yes.
Griffith?
Yes.
And Peters?
Yes.
6 yes to adopt the first reading of resolution 4, 2017.
Thank you. Motion to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for resolution number 4-17.
So moved.
Second?
Surratt?
Yes.
Foltz?
Yes.
Fontaine?
Yes.
Griffith?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
And Waring?
Yes.
6 yes to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for resolution 4, 2017.
Thank you. Motion is second to adopt under suspension of the rules. Excuse me, rules, resolution number 4-17.
So moved.
Second.
Foltz?
Yes.
Fontaine? Griffith?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Waring?
Yes.
And Surratt?
Yes.
6 yes to adopt under suspension of the rules for resolution 4, 2017.
Thank you. Reports, member Fontaine.
Okay, since Mr. Benikas isn't around, we have our new engineer, and I was checking to see how we're doing on our roads. Did you get your list of roads from everybody?
Yeah.
Are we getting
We've
patched
got
up?
the list. I've been working with the staff at the engineer's office, and I've been kind of pushing them. I'd like to see that thing out for bid around March 16th and open by the end of the month.
Yeah, because last year we got a slow start.
Toured it today. We've got a program where we're right at the budget, a little over 800,000. That's our estimate. We feel it'll come in cheaper than that, and we can just take a look at those prices once we get it down to one contractor. And we've got to add a street,
I mean, I just
delete a
want-
street, we can do it.
Thank you, I just want to make sure we get it.
Yeah, we've been
jumped on it
pushing that.
Before winter.
Don, do you mind if I follow up on that, Rob? On top of the streets that were submitted, are we still following the study that we had done on the roads? And is he familiar with the study we had done?
Yes, you mean as far as the prioritization of the roads? Yeah.
Okay, so are we following that? Are we, okay.
And that's really what we're gonna do. That's what the president's talking about, is that when we select roads to be paved, making sure that if there's any upgrades for water, sewer, we have a select criteria that we look at to make sure that we're doing the top priorities first. And the only exception to that would be is if there was grant funding.
Yes.
If it was available.
Right. One of the other things we look at is once we get the list, is we look at them and cross-check and also make sure that, like Cup, for example, on your list, are slated for water line replacements. Maybe not this year, but next year. So we want to be quite careful.
Yeah.
Easy, kid.
Easy. And don't get me started, I'm looking at septic, looking at everything. All right, so I'm good, that's all I have to do.
All right. Just a follow-up, will there be a list you can provide us?
Absolutely, yeah. Yep.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
You all set now?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Just a comment, a resident commented on the Board of Appeals process in the Planning Commission, and Councilman Kiesling isn't here, and as far as the Planning Commission and the Board of Appeals, they're non-voting members, they're advisory roles. It says you shall attend, which, according to even the Supreme Court, that word shall appears, it means may. So maybe the attendance hasn't been there, but Marcia does a really good job, and she has served on it many, many, many years. She doesn't even have to. According to our charter, it doesn't say that she has to be that person. And so, again, I just think that was exaggerated. And Marcia is not here tonight because she's at her daughter's basketball game, playing for North Canton in one of the semifinals. As far as my concern, no one ever told me I was supposed to go to this, so maybe it's an oversight. Again, it's any member can go to those. But what is funny, so I guess I went above and beyond my job, is I did sit in the crowd, and I remember Timmy saying to me, Steph, you're more than welcome to come up here, and I said, that's okay. I believe that the people that we appointed can do their job. Again, it's an advisory and non-voting member, and I did sit in the back. So who knew that I went above and beyond since I didn't even know I was supposed to be here. So maybe we need to talk about who serves that role. But just to clarify again, based on charter and regulation and rules and ordinances, kind of what it really was.
You've seen Councilmember Fonte at some of those meetings as well.
I've seen Dominic,
Sitting in the
yes.
audience, sure.
Yes.
I try to blend in and camouflage in the back.
Right, because you serve as an advisory role.
And Tim always says, come on up, sit down.
Yep, he does.
I'm like, no, thank you.
Right. That's all. But thank you for getting the streets, and that seems early, and
Yeah, it works
got
out.
our list in, and it's good it's in, because like every day you go by, you want to add more to it, so.
All right, thank you. Member Griffin.
2 items quickly. I have had a number of people approach me about the speed limit on Portage who are also supportive. Some of them wanted to come to speak tonight, and because I said we were going to work on the process, they were dissuaded. But I wouldn't be surprised if we have some other folks who come and talk on that issue too. So I'm glad we're moving forward. I know they are too. Secondly, I'm also really glad to hear when we were with the BIA relative to the permits piece, they had recommended some government organizations to do a third-party audit of our permits piece. And they put us in contact with someone. I know we've had some really beneficial third-party audits. In this case, no expense, so we would be much in a very good position to have some outside parties come in and say, hey, this would be a best practice, it'd be helpful to us. Obviously, we don't ever do everything that they recommend, but at the same time, we need to have some good thoughts and be able to say, hey, here's an idea that we want to work towards. And so again, I think that's a good thing, and I'm glad we're moving forward in that direction. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, Senator.
Just a couple of things, Pat, thank you for your work on that. That's good stuff to be, we've been after this now for some time with the signs and everything, so it's good to see you kickstart that and get that moving on. The other thing, I got a call from the Garden Club. They had called me before the winter kicked in, they would like to donate some flower pots and potting some stuff to go along with our plans that we're going to do on Main Street and so on. And I'm probably going to talk to you, Doug, about that for your committee. I'll probably jump on your committee, but it's part of the Main Street Beautification Committee. So they have stepped up and want to donate that. I want to make sure everybody understands that and realizes that. If you see your local garden club folks, make sure you say thank you to them. And that's it for me.
Pat and Rob, thank you for your work again. We talk about things, but it takes somebody from the administrative side really has the time to go after it, and appreciate that. Because we're talking about our residents, making this a safe community. It's a beautiful community, and I think we're going on around Reg Road. I'm looking forward to Mr. Fox's evaluation of that, so we can keep moving that forward. And obviously, we want to have other public input, you know, I mean, because the residents are right there, but I feel it's needed. It's something we've talked about, so hopefully we'll get this done here in the very near future. Second of all, obviously I think we all made statements. It's tough when you look at the post office. Things change. Obviously, they're not a hub or a mail distribution center anymore, but obviously we want them in the city of North Canton. I mean, 4472, you know, zip code's one thing, but that is a big part of our community, our post office. So I don't think there's any way, shape, or form we would support that moving into a township or another area that's not in the city of North Canton. So appreciate the meeting here tonight. Hopefully we'll have good things that'll happen here in the very near future with the post office. Thank you.
Good. I have a few comments before I take it over to this side. All good stuff as far as reports so far tonight, and it highlights what we're trying to do as a council and as an administration, move the city forward. The addition of Mr. DiOrio has been a pleasant surprise. I think we are going to be, we are headed in the right direction. We're going to be headed in that direction a lot faster than we have in the past, along with our new finance director and the continued hard work of our law director and our director of administration and our engineer. You know, I'm very confident in where we're going, and you know, I've been very pleased by the discourse that has been shown in council chambers in the last couple of months, and we kind of fell back into our old ways tonight with the tax on council members. I would hope that we're not going to head down this road again. You know, as far as council members attending Planning Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals, again, they are advisory non-voting positions. And there are behind the scenes correspondence as well sometimes that doesn't require your attendance there. But like has been stated, there has been council members at these meetings. So I ask my fellow council members to be patient with some of our residents. They are just going to attack. They're going to look beyond all the good things that we're doing and trying to do, create jobs, infrastructure, you name it, and they're just going to use this as an opportunity just to attack you in front of others. So that's all I have. Law Director.
Yes, I want to thank Patrick and Rob as well, and Mr. Watt from IBI Group in their efforts in there as well. And of course, as you often see, the law director is often the buzzkill. The rationale behind it often is we've done this, and all it needs is for you to say it's okay. After that, we're good. So that's the kind of the apprehensive part in, I just can't say, well, if you guys want to go ahead and not have me do that, then that's okay too. But if you're asking me to state that I've analyzed it and agree with your conclusion, you have to give me the opportunity to go ahead and do that. I mean, just a couple of the questions that are involved in there that initially they appear, oh, well, that's straightforward. our building here, is that a business? You'd probably say, no, it's government. But if you were told that your choice is business, resident, or urban, which is a combination of business and residence that's just closely grouped together, you might step away and say, wait a minute, let me take another look at whether or not church is business. Because if it's not resident, you only have one other. And if you're asking for a government building, you're going to say, clearly that's not business. But again, if the code, even this is a really long one here, we're into, how far does this go? I'm looking at paragraph UU, and it goes up to I, O, and stops at Q. So it's very comprehensive, but just a quick look in there, and Patrick made a very compelling argument of is government, church is a business. And I imagine most of us would often say, no. Clearly in our minds it's not, except we have to look in what our legislature has given us to work with. And if they only have given us a couple criteria, it's residential or it's business, then it forces us to ask some more questions. So that's what I'm asking for. It is quite a busy week. Thursday we have the honor of having oral argument in the 5th District Court of Appeals, so we're preparing for that. We're working on working out issues with CRAs, as well as we have Charter Commission that's going to meet for the first time on Thursday. So it's quite a busy week, but I will certainly give this its due.
Tim, may I ask you a question about that?
Yes,
Are
sir.
members of council able to meet? Or
Yes,
who's open? Let's
absolutely.
open that
It
up.
is just like the post office, it is a public meeting. Everyone is welcome and encouraged to attend.
Would you participate? Do you comment off the side?
Well, what the commission has the opportunity to do is when they will look to elect a chair, a vice, as well as a secretary. It's the commission's choice if it wishes to open it up for public comments. The 2007 commission did indeed do that. In contrast, however, to what we do here in council, is the commission had decided to reserve the comments until the end so that they could work on the issues before them, and then while they were doing that, perhaps they felt it was pertinent and relevant for those that had been observing to go ahead and give their comments after that work had been done, and perhaps so that they could consider those things leading into the next meeting. A reminder that those that do have recommendations for the Charter Review Commission, that for commission members and for those that wish to make recommendations, those will go through actually the clerk of council, and she will submit those to all of those in the commission. They're public records. She's required to maintain those. So for anyone that has recommendations for the commission, you can submit them to the clerk. You can do it over the phone, in writing, in person, whatever you like. You don't have to give any personal information. If you want to remain anonymous, you're able to do that. But if you do give contact information, then the commission then can contact you if perhaps you're asking for something that's not available, or the commission is considering it and perhaps maybe a modification and you want to be a part of that, they can then contact you. Okay.
All right. Director of Finance.
Just want to give an update on a couple goals that we had as I came in as finance director that we're making good progress on. One was the reorganization of the finance department to make it more efficient and effective. And thanks to council for approving that exempt accountant position. late last year. The first person to be hired in that position started today, and I'm really excited to work with him and move the department forward and hopefully move the city forward through that. The second thing would be one of our goals was to move the city from a 1-week lag on payroll to a 2-week lag, and as of last Friday, we completed that. I really want to thank all the department heads and especially all the employees, especially our part-time employees, who were the ones that took the hit on that to, have a week gap in pay. We did work with them on a case-by-case basis to help make that transition as easy as possible financially for them, but also a big thank you to the Deputy Finance Director who runs payroll, and she was able to get that done in just a matter of weeks. So now department heads have more time to approve timesheets. We have more time to look at things in finance. And this year, when Christmas was going to fall on a payroll Monday, nobody's going to have to be in on Christmas looking at timesheets. So that'll be positive as well.
Outstanding, thank you.
Well done.
That's awesome. Good job. Thank you. Director of Administration.
Two things. We're looking, obviously, to hire a full-time engineer. Just to be clear, that's not an indication of Rob working with us. Rob's been great. IBI, he's answered everything we've asked him for. Sunday afternoon, I made sure that he got to hear from me and scheduled a meeting pretty quick this week. So, but he's done everything that we've asked him to do, and he's been very knowledgeable in that area. So, we just think that North Canton needs a full-time engineer. Second thing is that Friday at the Civic Center is the Chief's retirement party, and it's between noon and 3 o'clock. So hopefully you can get by and wish the Chief well into retirement there. So he's been a good Chief for us. So I know he'd appreciate anybody's presence that can be there. It's open to anybody that would like to come to it. Thank you.
Outstanding. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, first off, I want to thank the council for appropriating the additional funds for the personnel for a full-time engineer, and then also adding another administrative person to the administration, and for our finance director for moving the bar up as far as the process, requiring an ordinance, which of course I was there at the beginning, called the ordinance, so I was going into the old process, but that's what we're here for, is to raise the bar as far as service. And I'm really excited with the new people that we brought on here, with Laura, with Patrick, and even with our engineer serving as a contractor to the city. I mean, it's just raised the bar in so many ways just over the past few months. And I was so excited that I kept our administrator on the phone for a pretty long time last night. And
you did?
Yeah.
Come
Can
on.
you believe that? Yes.
Almost midnight.
Still, almost midnight. My wife said, "Who are you talking to on the phone?" And I was like, "Oh, Mike Christ." You
Probably
know what
thought
time it is?
Soretta. Probably thought you were talking Soretta.
That's right, Soretta was, yeah, that's right. So Mike, he was 7 minutes longer and this last time, so thank you, Mike, for being patient.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. So, but it is very exciting because, we really are raising the bar for everything that we're doing in so many areas. There's areas that we're finding that, we're deficient on, like the IT, and we're going to make those improvements. But as I had texted most of you, when I was driving through the fine city of Canal Fulton, I looked and I saw that entryway sign, and I thought, that's the same sign that we have in North Canton. So it's like when we're doing good things, you see that those good ideas spread. And I think that's just a real testament to the work that we're doing here in the city. That's all I have. And go Hoover tonight, the girls basketball playing Jackson. So,
Yes, they're winning at half.
All right, good stuff. Mr. Engineer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess recap a few things I've been up to this last 3.5 weeks. You probably noticed 7th Street Northwest, the contractor's out there. The construction's actually started. We've had great weather. He's already knocked out all the big precast catch basins he's got to get in, so that's great. For not even done with February yet. We got 2 projects currently out on the street, out for bid, that open at the end of next week. The first is our collaborative one with county commissioners and county engineer, East Maple Street paving. Open those bids, and the earlier the better with paving to get those good asphalt prices in. And also next week, our $400,000 sanitary sewer lining project. We'll open those bids next week. And then there's three things that I'm really pushing everyone to get out yet this month. We already talked about the paving.
Yeah, that's great.
Love to get paving out, get a good price, pave it early. I hate October, checking the thermometer, that kind of stuff. Let's get it done.
We do too.
The other one's about ready to go. The plans are done. It'll be out next week. We'll start advertising. Is the Parkview Street restoration project. Get that one out for bid, open bids, the third week of the month. And then lastly is that Everhard water line we've talked about. Want that out and open bids and get those prices in by the end of the month.
Rob, real quick, if we do advertise for an engineer, I hope you apply.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We like motivated engineers.
Saying all the things we want to hear. Right.
Early and often.
Right. Director of Administrative Services.
Mr. President, I must comment that I do like this format where I get to speak last. Something that eluded me when I was on city council.
It goes around again.
But I would just say that the mayor also was on the phone with me late in the evening, and I abruptly hung up on him because we were approaching the Soretta standard at 11:38 p.m. So thanks, Mike, for expanding that for another 14 minutes. I appreciate it.
Weren't you watching the Oscars? Come on, Dave.
I have nothing for, thank you for the
You
opportunity to
lost
serve.
track of time.
Madam Clerk, anything to add?
I do. I have 2 items. April 7th, I will be hosting a captain's promotion exam for the fire department. And then in May, I will have the police chief's exam, but I forget the date of it. And that's it.
Outstanding. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Yes.